immense pleasure to welcome a very energetic and happy personality, a very young and dynamic leader, General Manager of the Courtyard Hebbal, Bangalore, Mr. Shiv Bose. Shiv, thank you so much for taking time today from your very busy schedule. We are aware, so many things that you're in fact doing in the hotel right now, and amongst that, you've been able to in fact come up with your time and speak to us. Thank you very much for that. So glad to have you here today.
Thank you, Sanchari. I think, yes, you're right. It's difficult times, but it's always good to take a break. I think this is a welcome break to have this conversation. And especially now when looking for friends to chat, I think this is a good break. Thank you for this.
Thank you so much, Shiv. And Shiv, we like to, of course, start this entire conversation today knowing about your journey so far and all the wonderful achievements that you have done so far.
So let me take you back a few months in terms of years back where I started. So this is way back in 2002 when I started with hospitality. I've always proclaimed to be an accidental hotelier. I didn't know what exactly I was getting into when I enrolled for it, assuming this to be a kind of an MBA format where you come out as a manager straight on. With that little learning, I enrolled for it. I understand the first years were tough because then I realized the ground realities as to what hospitality is. It isn't a piece of cake because you have to run through the nitty-gritties of it, go through the training process. I think the first training experience was very difficult because then I realized the basics of work that needs to be done. But I think moving forward now in retrospective, when I look back at it, I think it's one of the best mistakes I've done. It's good that I became a hotelier because that corrected me in a certain manner. To be honest, I was very callous as a personality, but this industry has changed me for the good. With the kind of work that we have done and the kind of, the ups and downs that you face, this gives you a kind of a new meaning to life. So my start was very basic in nature in front office as a bellboy. I started there with the Marriott. So I have a big journey with Marriott, moved on the career, encompassed a lot of learning in front office, took a divergent learning path to food and beverage, human resources and training. So I've tried a couple of things. More with the pretext of learning hospitality because it always intrigued me to learn the other department as well. And wherever the possibility came to pick up a certain learning, I never stopped back. Now, of course, it was a kind of a career, I would not say progression, but kind of a career risk as well to pick up those traits over a period of time. But with the mindset that eventually I'll be able to connect the dots, I moved on. And I'm happy to say that now I can connect the dots. I could not look forward then, but now in hindsight, when I look back, I think I can really connect the dots and relate to the people who work in other departments. And that makes me a little more grounded than I would have been.
Right. Yeah. Shiv, during the journey that you've been, and of course you've been, you are the general manager of the Marriott Hebbal for quite a long time right now. You've had amazing experiences even before, which we have all heard from you so much, when you have in fact visited our campus also here. There have been such insightful, journey details from your end. But then I'm very certain that, there have been certain circumstances or experiences you've had, which basically made you more stronger, emerged you, more better, as a person also maybe, and also as a leader. So we would just like to have a little account of that as well.
So let me tell you in terms of when I started, I had some disabilities in speech, lack of confidence, all coupled together. So I was a -1 to start with, right?
Wow.
And eventually when I paced myself with the other hoteliers or fellow hoteliers who were friends, I realized that there was too much of, missings that were there in the personality traits. So I had to really muster up my courage and pick up those traits over a period of time, which initiated spending more time at work, learning from others, right? Making notes. So that was a kind of a learning phase and a learning curve the first few years. I think the transgression to other departments was a big learning as well because you learn from other team members too. I think as I moved with time, I realized that you learn from people. So what basically happened to me was that, yes, I had the basics of hospitality learned, but when you become a GM, the other aspects of handling ownership, the finance acumen, they all come into play. Which actually, when you hit with the reality, then only you come to know in terms of to do so much. Either you're doing it from a distance or you're seeing people doing it for you when you're not a GM, right? Because then the sword is on someone else's head. So the point of the matter is that you have to be there to learn it. Yes, you can probably prepare it for it in a certain manner, but till you're not into it, till you not jump the wagon, I don't think so you can learn from the entire aspect of hospitality. Uh, it's a hit and trial in many ways, to be honest. We try different things in a day's work. Some are successful, some are not. But we learn from each the way it is. The second aspect is taking feedback. I think what I've learned is you can't make all the decisions for people. You have to take feedback. Yes, you have a sense of power. You feel that you know it better on account of certain
Mm-hmm.
knowledges that are coming to you. But the idea
Mm-hmm.
is to share that information with people and solicit the feedback from people around you to have a better understanding or hold of the situation at large. I think this has been one of the biggest learning for me. I wasn't the same in terms of when I started with vis-a-vis what I'm right now. I think with the years of experience as a general manager, this is my second stint. I've come to know of people better as opposed to what I was uh, 4 years down the line. Yeah.
Super. What are your most memorable moments as a GM, Shiv?
I think, my first GM stint was a conversion hotel in Nagpur. So
Okay.
we were
Okay.
converting standalone to a branded hotel chain. And I remember going there as a GM, the first stint, uh, and that to a conversion, so there were too much of things at stake at that point.
Okay. Right.
So the big things was when I went over there, I realized that people were not accustomed to system orientations, the process
Mm-hmm.
synergies were not there. So I think the
Mm-hmm.
biggest learning over there was in terms of learning the system with them, because you have a certain mindset, but you can't actually dictate that to them because they're not in the same level. So many times you have to take a step back to understand where they are and then pick up the pieces from there. So for me, it was a learning to take a step back. I think I had to unlearn a lot of things the way I had learned it and then learn it
Okay.
with them in terms of the way they wanted to learn. So I think for me, that was a kind of a hitting the rock initially because they could not
Mm-hmm.
understand what I was saying in the first place of certain hospitality trends or process orientation or system synergies that we are talking of. Then I had to take a
Right.
step back and relate to them from the basics. So for me, the greatest learning was that I had to take back my learning and eventually pick up the pieces with them step on step. I think that was one of the greatest learnings for me. The second part is in terms of owner management. I think the expectations of an owner. Again, as I said, that when you're not in the shoes, you don't understand this. You see the owner from a
Yes.
distance. He comes to the hotel. He walks around, and you wish him, and that's it. That's the end of the conversation. A few smiles exchanged, and you're over and done with. But once you're into these shoes, then you realize the nature of conversations. You're in boardroom meetings. The decimal percentages matter. Then the mental maths comes into place. You have the rationale that you have to put forward. So I think that aspect of dealing with people again and dealing with an owner and understanding the asset management factor, I think that was one of the biggest learnings for me. I'm still learning it, to be honest, because it's a never ending process with so much at stake and with different kinds of owners' expectations being so different. I think it's an ongoing step.
Correct.
I think
Right.
you learn this till your grave. Owner management is something you learn till your grave.
That's true. Shiv, you've been doing so well as a general manager for the last, so many years right now. I would like to know, leading your team from the front and of course being such a young leader, what are the qualities do you think, Shiv, that a hospitality professional or say an aspirant should possess in today's time?
I think it's different for different people because we all made so differently, right? So it's not a cookie cutter approach. I'll be honest enough to say, but you have
Correct.
to mend your personality around it. So
Mm-hmm.
you can have a variable personality, which is absolutely fine. Your thoughts and processes,
Mm-hmm.
your thinking might be different, and that is what we encourage. We don't want everyone to be the same, right? You have to have a different
Right.
background, a different mindset to bring in that novelty factor in hospitality. But having said that, I think patience is the key uh, in all aspects, because if you think that you'll have quick successes over a period of time, you'll be a general manager, it doesn't happen so fast. It takes those minutes and milliseconds and hours of work on a daily basis where you get analyzed and eventually you make it big over a period of time. Also, patience with people around and also patience with management, because at times you might be pulled out for certain wrongdoings and you might wonder saying that, listen, I've done 10 good things in life, why am I being picked up on this? But the patience of learning from it and saying that, so be it, and moving on, I think that's important. What I see off late is a lot of individuals who come up right now do not have that patience level. They want things
Yes.
faster, quicker, they want to be agile, which is good in a way, but
Correct.
at times nature takes its own course, right? And you have to respect that fact. So if it's a process orientation also, you have to give it some time to seep in to people, and eventually people have to execute it It can't happen with a robotic switch. And therefore that time taken, that patience aspect has to be done. The second thing is asking questions and looking into the integrity of things. I've seen many people only superficial aspect of hospitality who look on the surface and say we are doing the basics right, but the idea is to ask a few more questions and to try working on that process orientation a bit more. I firmly believe that you have to be a self-critic to make the best process. You can't be dependent on others to tell you what is wrong. The more you
Mm-hmm.
criticize yourself from within in any process segmentation, I think the better the process is. So we try to follow this in our hotel as well, whereby we self-critique, whether it's a person who's executing it or the person who's formulating it. And we try to find the best answers to it. I think we have changed numerous processes over time in this hotel and we keep on changing it just for the
Right.
better. And we still feel we have a long way to go.
Super. Shiv, this is a question that, I'm sure you'll be able to connect with because, having known you and having understood, so many things that you've in fact done to even, in fact, discover yourself and of course, reinvent yourself as a leader. A lot of students definitely, today I'm talking about students and, of course, going ahead tomorrow, wanting to aspire to be hospitality professionals, especially sometimes they have this at the back of the mind that, they're not able to speak in a proper language. If I talk about language, I'm talking about English communication skills, right?
Right.
A lot of them struggle. They do have the passion, but then they cannot come up front. They cannot really join at times. They are not accepted maybe. And that's what they feel. What do you think, would be the future for them and how can they go ahead and improvise on themselves and their skills?
So I think this connects to me because I had the language concern myself, both in terms of speaking and probably assimilating the language and speaking well with the kind of confidence which is required. Uh, I think most of us face that. I think let's be honest enough. No matter what your background is, irrespective, I went to a convent school myself, but once you're into the
Yes.
open world, that nervousness of having a conversation or probably, reciprocating to someone who speaks better is always that fear
Correct.
which is in the mind.
Correct.
I think the
Correct.
answer to that is probably picking up again slow reading, which I did. I still do that. It can be one article in the newspaper that you pick up certain words over a
Mm-hmm.
period of time. English
Mm-hmm.
is something you keep on improvising for life. No one is
Right.
100% in that language. So
Absolutely.
if you don't read books, which is fine, many people say, listen, I can't read books or heavy duty books, which is absolutely fine. Read one article a day in the newspaper. I still have the
Yes.
habit of picking certain words that I probably find in the newspaper when people speak and to probably type it out or save it on my phone. Earlier I used to write it in a diary, but now we have the
Mm-hmm.
technology for age. So you can actually put that together and you can reflect back. This is something my father used to say that, when you write something, you remember better. So,
Yes.
so I still have the habit of picking up in terms of phrases, language, or words for that matter. And the best part of technology is once you type that on your phone, you can also find out the meaning of it. It comes automatically. You can just put the cursor on top of it and they get to the dictionary and probably relate to that word better. Uh, I think that is one way where you get the confidence. Also, I used to watch news a lot. I remember in the early days, I was told to watch news because they enunciate a lot of words, which is more reality.
Yes.
And then you can relate to that better in terms of what's happening around the world and the
True.
phrases or words that can be used. And more conversations. I think many times we probably think in a local language and try to speak.
Mm-hmm.
I think over a period of time, people have to bridge that gap of thinking in the same language and speaking the same language. I remember thinking in my mother tongue and at times, speaking in English, and therefore the translation uh,
Yes.
takes a beating over there. But I think if you can bridge that over a period of time and have a clear methodology of thinking and speaking, I think the language becomes more clearer. At times, also the language is not about words. It's all about how clear you are in what you want to say. You might not have the fancy words, which is absolutely fine, but I think the sense of connect should be there. So I would request all not to be bogged down by heavy words, but just have the basic understanding of what you think and speak in the same line, and eventually pick up words over a passage of time and learn from others as well.
That's great. Shiv, again, a very important question, very pertinent to all of us, I'm sure. So, you have been so supportive of all our initiatives of IIHM, and definitely, you have been working with us as, of course, as a patron for our initiatives like the Young Chef Olympiad and so many other things. It has been a privilege to have you around in the campus as well to interact with our students. So, my question to you would be, Shiv, where do you basically think that, we are, in fact, we are apart from many other particular institutions in talks of our students or many other particular things. So I would like to know from you if you really think that, we are apart from anybody else.
I think the best thing about your college is that the endeavor taken by all of you. Now, a college is taken as a place where people go, study, learn, and eventually start working. Campus recruitments happen, and then you're off to your own world. But I think
Right.
all of you and what I've seen of your colleges, you've taken a lot of initiative in terms of connecting with industry veterans, having those conversations going. I've been to your college myself in terms of interacting with the students, and I've seen others doing it
Yes.
as well. When I speak to my fellow colleagues as well, most of them have been
Correct.
to your college over there, and I've met you and your students over there. So I think the initiative of bringing people closer and motivating your students is also important. See, more or less, the learning is the same no matter where you go,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Hmm.
The books remain the
Hmm.
same. So eventually, what
Yes.
you study is in terms of more in terms of operational methodologies and basics of F&B, or for that matter, front office housekeeping. Those remain the same. You can't change that, but you can
True.
always inspire someone to be a better hotelier. I do not see a lot of colleges inspiring the students to be better hoteliers, where you stand very well in terms of inspiring them. I
Correct.
think that connect of operational learning along with inspiration goes a long way to make a hotelier. I think you do both together very well.
Thank you very much. We want to now know about your lockdown learnings. It's been, of course, a while that we are in this particular situation right now. And just really hope that all of us are, in fact, getting better and coming out of this very soon. But then, what has been your favorite moments during the lockdown?
I think I've connected to my team very well. We have a small contingent of team members who are placed in the hotel. I'm with them
Okay.
as we speak, and every evening we probably sit down, connect with them, have conversations. I've come to know certain things about their traits, about their family that I've never asked them those questions. So I think that connection is better
Wow.
now. Plus,
Mm-hmm.
we are together in this. So basically, we share each other's joys and sorrows. So we talk about a lot in terms of what's going on and take their
Right.
perspective also. Uh, for me, I'm reading when I get time. Of course, there are enough mails to read. Things keep on coming. There's so much of matter these days, right?
Yes.
It comes from
Yes.
the organization. It comes from institutions. It comes from third-party organizations, surveys, reports. Uh, so I am a little slow reader because I read every line, every bit of it. So it takes me a little more time than usual to finish a mail. So that keeps me going. Plus, whenever time permits, I think just take some walks within the precincts of the hotel. Again, interacting with the team members as I move out. That's important. And probably a little bit here and there in terms of playing a sport within, again, the precincts of the hotel. At times, we play a little bit of cricket in the basement or a badminton match. Though I will be honest enough to say I lose badly, but yes, these are things that we're doing out here just to keep ourselves entertained.
That is so nice. And I really hope that, everything, just like I said, we should be operational very, very soon again. I'm really hoping the best to you and your team, and of course, your families as well, so that everything gets back into the new normal phase, because that's what we're depicting right now. We're all getting ready to get into the new normal, whether it's academics or operations from your end. I'm certain that our industry would definitely, go higher and higher and come back with a bang. What do you think, Shiv?
Right. I think we have also encountered a lot in India, whether it's terrorism and hospitality, to the lack of travel for other means. I think we have encountered too much in life to be perturbed by this. So we as Indians are very resilient, which I know of. I'm sure the world will learn from us. I think the domestic
Yes.
travel will boom very soon. And then seeing that, I think the international travel will also pick up. It's a matter of time. I think, as you rightly said, it's a phase. We have to be together in this. Can be a little more elongated than our usual
Mm-hmm.
expectation of that phase. But yes,
Right.
there might be certain loose ends of this phase of we're losing some people or probably getting newer people over a period of time because you have to probably work with the times, right? It's a business that we are in. As much as
Yes.
there's a human angle to it, we also have a business angle. We have owner
True.
expectations all combined together. So if you
Yes.
analyze that together, I'm sure we will have a kind of a sweet and a bitter kind of a story to say at the end of this. But I think after this is over and done with, and business picks up again, I think we have the whole world who's waiting to travel. So I think there'll be an onslaught of travel.
Absolutely. So much agreeable with you, and completely I second your thoughts. Shiv, we have a lot of our students and definitely a lot of our new students, who would be joining the hospitality industry watching you today. So your message to all of them.
I think, they might be very disturbed right now with what they're seeing and with hotels in terms of the way they are and hearing from other colleagues and peers of them. I will just tell them
Right.
that, be there. I think it's a great learning. Take it as a learning because it's still in college. You have to understand how difficult times are. And it's good that you're learning it now because God forbid if this comes back again in any form, you're prepared for it. Uh,
Right.
the second aspect is that use the time wisely. This is a time to study, probably go back to your books, pick up those learnings, improvise on yourself, work on your language abilities. You're getting that extra time in your hand, which normally you don't get, because otherwise it's a normal college life and eventually the time passes by and you're standing in front of an interview door. So use this time wisely, prepare yourself because as we rightly said, you will get those opportunities very soon. And therefore, this time that you spend to yourself will actually guide you through. So use it wisely, be optimistic, and the times will keep on coming back. So let's be assured that we will come back to normalcy very soon.
Wow. Thank you so much. It was incredible, amazing, and always, as usual, very happy. You make us so happy because you're such a happy personality, just like I said, I mentioned. And thank you so much for your very, very inspiring and motivating words, Shiv. We wish you all the very best and all the success, in fact, to you and your team and definitely to your family again. Please stay healthy. And for taking out time today from your extremely hectic schedule, thank you once again, Shiv.
Thank you, Sanchari. And it's always wonderful talking to you. You should call me more often. I love doing this. I think we should do it every day.
Yes, we would be doing that. Definitely. It's taken for granted. Thank you so much, Shiv.
Thank
We
you,
shall be
Sanchari.
reconnecting soon, of course, offline as well. Thank you and have
Thank
a
you.
great
Take
evening
care.
ahead.
You too. Yeah,
Thank you.
bye.
The live has been stopped now.
Shiv, you were as usual marvelous.
Thank you. Actually, listen, between you and
Tell
me,
me.
I'm not in Facebook, right? I don't do social media so much.
I know.
Yeah,
So how?